Well, hello, everyone. We have the three Americans here. Actually, today it's just the two Americans, myself, Lee, Tuco Mojo. We got Tom the Bear. So our topic that we can talk about every week, immigration and illegal immigration, or the first article we're going to talk about here, Nebraska Democrats. These are legal immigrants, apparently. However, they're not legal to vote or registered or American citizens. And here we have the Democratic Party readily admitting in Nebraska, which has been primarily a Republican state, providing voter registration forms in migrant welcome packs, which just goes to reinforce what we already know, that there is a plan to pump in these immigrants and to register them as Democratic voters, to shift everything we know and take away our rights. Tom?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when I read this article, I just thought it was ludicrous that they were purposely go ahead and put that in their packet. I mean, obviously, registration is a right of every legal American, um, but to kind of include it in when they haven't really had an opportunity to assimilate into any kind of culture, or anything like that, it's ridiculous, and it's just like you said. I think it's just like a ploy of trying to um, produce some leftists right off the beginning. So I mean, obviously, I think that's just ridiculous. Why they would be doing this in Nebraska? It's crazy to me.
Well, the article specifically states that the chairman of the Democratic Party in Nebraska, Jane Cleave is her name, signed a letter as the chair of the party, and then included some kind of Democratic sticker for them to put on their car. My question, unrelated to the article, is how in the world are Middle Eastern immigrants being settled in Nebraska automatically getting a car? That's a whole other topic for a whole other episode. And it's clearly criminal. They're telling them they can register to vote when they're not allowed to under the law. They're committing a crime. Why isn't somebody prosecuting them? And also the article specifically states that Obama targeted Nebraska with more immigrant resettlements than a lot of other states, simply because it's a strong Republican state. And so they're trying to shift the demographic to Democrat instead of just whatever naturally the population is. That also is criminal. And it's no surprise, of course, that Obozo is, continued to commit crimes before he left office. It's absolutely ridiculous what's going on.
Yeah, no, and actually, I said I don't understand why they're doing this in Nebraska. Let me rephrase that. I don't understand why Nebraskans are accepting this. Um, Obviously, I know why the government would want this because they are trying to change the demographics, especially in areas that are strong Republican support. Obviously, the more you diversify it, or as I like to call it, brainwash people in some of these areas, the better chance you have of actually winning a state or something like that during an election, or just changing policies within a state. Obviously, that helps their cause right off the bat.
And so that's a great segue into, shifting policy. And so this past week, along with the immigration debate, we have some key city mayors shooting back at Attorney General Sessions' threat to cut off federal funding for being a sanctuary city. So in that article, which of course we'll have linked down below, let me pull that up. I have some key quotes from this article by some of these mayors. So let me read these off. So New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio said, "This is just saber rattling." Well, Blasio, I guess you're going to find out, aren't you, pretty quick. Mayor Ed Murray of Seattle, Trump's immigration policy is based in bigotry, not safety. Really? Based in bigotry? The guy who's probably the least racist of any person, if you start looking into his history and how he deals with people. Mayor Ed Lee of San Francisco. This is no surprise, of course. San Francisco knows that sanctuary cities are safer, more productive, healthier places to live. Really? How about you tell that to the family of the lady who got shot in the back on the pier in San Francisco by the illegal immigrant who was deported 5 times? And I'll get her name and link it down below. I don't have it right off the top of my head. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh called the threat destructive and irresponsible. Really? How about you harboring criminals is destructive and irresponsible? And these are my 2 favorite. I saved those for last. Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti said taking federal funding from the city would be unconstitutional. Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel calling the denial of federal funds unconstitutional. Well, I'll tell you what, Mayor Eric Garcetti and Mayor Rahm Emanuel, I have my pocket constitution right here. You getting funding for you withholding funding because you're a sanctuary city is nowhere in the Constitution. It's not unconstitutional because it's not here. You morons. Have you even read the Constitution? Do you know what it says? I have. I got a copy right here, you idiots. I mean, that is, of all the quotes in that article, these 2 mayors, Los Angeles and Chicago, saying it's unconstitutional to hold federal funds. You're stupid and you're idiotic and you have obviously never read your Constitution. Tom?
Yeah, I don't think I could say it any better. First of all their comments are idiotic. What I really feel is even more idiotic is the fact that it's getting to this point. I don't understand why when a law gets put into place, it's not your responsibility to choose whether or not yes you do it or no you don't. It's, you know what, argue it but enforce it. You know, it's like it's completely ridiculous to me. It's like, okay, under the directives of the president, I will enforce it. In the meantime, I will argue my point to say whether it's fair or not fair, but enforce it. And again, we can't talk about this enough where it's not like we're saying all immigration needs to stop now. We're closing off the borders or anything like that. It's just that he's trying to just stop it for a little while, let us get control over it, and then figure things out. If you ask me, it's the president's trying to be reasonable about this. These guys are going, no, well, we're not going to enforce it no matter what. I don't care who says what. It's absolutely ridiculous, and obviously the comments are just idiotic. I feel, anyways, that Sessions in his comments, and if it wants to be deemed a threat to the states, so be it. I think they're justified. Hey, you're not going to, enforce what we have asked you to do as a country. Then yeah, you won't get funding for the country, for your state from it. So it's you can't have it both ways, right? It's like you're either a part of this union or you're not.
Well, and that's it. They're aiding and abetting, in my mind, they're aiding and abetting criminal activity. These 6 mayors need to be arrested. They have specifically said that they are not going to cooperate with law enforcement. They are aiding and abetting in a crime, and that crime is illegal. People coming here illegally. It's outrageous. Sessions needs to issue warrants. I don't know if it's the FBI, the federal marshals, whoever it is, and go arrest these mayors. Make an example of them. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know what, Tom? I am of the thought, stop all immigration. Period. End of story. Nobody else gets to come here. Shut it all down until we figure out what's going on and we can get rid of the criminals and we can work to clean things up. These 6 mayors need to be arrested. End of story, and indicted for aiding and abetting criminal activity. That's my thought. And I'll go back to the same thing. It's not in the Constitution. It's nobody's right to come to this country who is not already here as a legal American citizen. And it's not in the Constitution that it's unconstitutional to withhold federal funds. Any other thoughts on that?
No, no, no. You've nailed that one.
Well, that's the thought of the three Americans. I know there's only two of us today. Ty will be back with us next time. There you go.